my privilege to kick off the showcase portion of our program. So just to set the stage, this is not a traditional set of investor pitches. Rather, we've brought together companies at different stages of development. Some may be a little early and some are seasoned fundraisers. All have something different and all are full of potential. And I suspect, as Worley said, all are looking to change the world. So this first group of companies are part of the Quantum Startup Foundry's TraQtion program. A highly competitive program, TraQtion is a market accelerator, bringing promising companies together with customers and partners. You'll have a chance to learn more about the program during our participant panel, and we are honored to be working with EY as a founding member of the QSF and a key TraQtion program. While COVID prohibited them from joining us in person, we asked them to share their welcome via video.
Hi, I'm Matt Barrington, one of the partners here at EY. Welcome to the first Quantum Startup Foundry Summit at the University of Maryland. At EY, we are focused on building a better working world. The team that I'm on is specifically exploring the emerging technology landscape to harness the power of technology in new and innovative ways. The emerging technology landscape is shifting quickly as technology becomes more ubiquitous, democratized, and industrialized with capabilities like 5G, edge computing, multi-cloud, and other interesting evolutions. But there are very few revolutionary changes like quantum. It is a whole new leap in computing. Quantum has the promise and potential to tackle the most challenging and multidimensional problems in our world. Quantum will change the way we research and develop vaccines and medicines, build next-generation materials, solve global scarcity problems, including food production, and it will change the way companies evaluate operational and financial risk, leading to new market capability and free trade models. All of this promise is exciting, but we are still early in our quantum journey, and that is why EY became a founding member of the QSF. We want to work this early stage of development with you, the most interesting startups who are focused on solving the complexity of quantum computing and enabling quantum to become commercially viable at scale. EY wants to connect the QSF cohort companies with real market opportunities and speed the innovation in the real world to start realizing the promise of quantum. We look forward to working with each of you to make quantum real for our clients, help solve problems today, tomorrow, and in the future, and build a better working world together. On behalf of my colleagues at EY and our fellow members at the Quantum Startup Foundry, thank you for coming and enjoy the rest of the summit.
And now let's hear from the companies.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Yuval. I'm from Classiq, and let's see if I can get my slides going. Very good. So I was told this is not an investor summit, but let me give you sort of the investor basics anyway. Classiq has been around for just under 2 years, founded at the end of 2019. 3 fantastic founders. One of them was the technical and scientific lead of IBM Quantum in Haifa, and 2 others. We are a SaaS software company, raised about $18 million from Wing Capital in the Valley, from Teammate in Israel, from Sumitomo in Japan, and a couple of other investors. And as you'll see, we're positioned to really dominate the quantum software market. And let me explain why that is the case. We solve 3 critical problems for quantum to really become the market that we're all hoping it to be. The first one is that all this great hardware that's being built is useless without software. And the fact that you can write software for 10 or 20 or 25 qubits today is great, but how do you write software for 100 qubits, for 200 qubits, for 1,000 qubits? We allow people today to build sophisticated quantum algorithm for today's and tomorrow's computers. The other thing that we solve is portability. Organizations today do not want to bet on one particular quantum vendor. Maybe IonQ is going to be great. Maybe IBM, maybe Honeywell, maybe Xanadu, maybe Cold Quanta, and so on. They're worried that they are committing to a hardware vendor and then will get stuck. Our software allows them to be portable, to run it on IBM in the morning, and on Cold Quanta in the afternoon, and on IonQ in the middle. And third, there's a big problem with quantum, which is the manpower. Do you have to be a quantum PhD to work on quantum computers? And if the answer is yes, that's a problem because there are not going to be enough of them. Our software makes it accessible. You could be a supply chain expert, you could be a finance expert, you could be a pharma expert, and write sophisticated quantum algorithms that actually work using our platform. So software development today is really at its infancy. This is what you see on the screen is a simple quantum circuit, probably the winner in last year's IBM Quantum Challenge. And to write a quantum software today, you basically sort of connect the wires. You take the qubits and connect them to a gate, and you take the output of that gate and do something else with it. And that's great, but it doesn't scale. It's not portable. It's not easy to understand. And it may be okay when you have 5 qubits, but how is it going to work when you have 25 qubits? How does it work when you have 125 qubits? There's a limit to human ability. It's almost like the 100-meter dash. Millions of people can run 100 meters under 20 seconds, and about 200 in the history of mankind ran it under 10 seconds, and no one's going to be able to run it under 9 seconds. So that's where we come in. At some point, you just can't continue to debug, to maintain, to create these algorithms by hand, and you need some help to do it. So when we set out to solve this problem, we looked at the history. What similar problem has been solved, and how was it solved? So what you see here is not a quantum circuit, it's an electronic circuit. It might have AND gates and OR and NOR, XOR, and so on. And I know the answer, but I couldn't tell you what this circuit does. And it's a simple circuit, probably has a couple dozen gates. Now, when you look at today's processors, an Intel i7 has about 4 billion transistors. It's not designed by hand. So what people do in the electronic world is they have high-level functional levels, high-level functional models like VHDL or Verilog. And now you've got something that describes what the functionality of the circuit is. And then you've got these successful software companies like Cadence or Synopsys that take that functional model and synthesize a working circuit from it. And they synthesize it while keeping the functionality, but understanding what the limitations are of the underlying FPGA or CPU that they're trying to synthesize on. So one famous analyst called Classiq the cadence of quantum, because we take that exact same approach and apply it to quantum computing. So here is a high-level functional model that does option pricing. It's human readable, it's easy to change, it's not hardware specific, but then we synthesize it within seconds to a working quantum circuit. We synthesize it into an optimized quantum circuit. And we'll talk about what this optimization is and why my optimization may be different than your optimization. Everyone needs something a little bit different. So our software platform allows you to do 3 things. First is to model the circuit, to model the behavior in a high level, something that is not hardware dependent. But it also allows you to specify the constraints. What is it that you care about? Maybe I have a limited number of qubits. Maybe I want to limit the depth of the circuit. Maybe I want to use specific gates and not others. Maybe I'm willing to compromise on accuracy. Just like there's no one car that's good for everyone, maybe I need to drive a whole bunch of kids to a soccer game, or maybe I need to impress a girl. It's not the same car, right? So everyone has a different set of constraints. So we allow you to define what the circuit does. We then synthesize it automatically. We explore thousands and thousands of different options and find the best one that works for you. And we make it easy to port from one machine into another. And then once the circuit is there, we have technology that allows you to modify it, to debug it. How are you going to debug a 300 qubit circuit when 50 qubits is the maximum you can run on a simulator today? What are you going to do about that? Well, we have solutions for that as well. So where we sit in the sort of quantum stack is we have our synthesis engine, which you see in the middle. It accepts two things: a high-level functional model of the circuit and a set of constraints. And we'll show you some examples of the constraints. We then generate code that could be in the circuit, in Q# or Qiskit or Cirq, and we already integrate with most major cloud providers, whether it's Amazon or Microsoft or IBM and so on. So we let them do the transpilation, the final stage of the hardware optimization, but we can create circuits that work, and we create them today, again, for hundreds or thousands of qubits. So let me explain a little bit about the constraints. Here is for those of you that are familiar, here's a very simple description of state preparation. State preparation is what is basically initializing qubits to certain values, and that's fundamental to many, many algorithms. Well, state preparation could be in different levels of accuracy. Maybe these are the values that I want, and I want 1% error, or I don't want anything worse than 3% error, or I don't want anything worse than 10% error. Well, within a few seconds, we generate various options. So you see on the top a more complex circuit that delivers these values with 0.5% error, and then simpler and simpler circuits with greater error. So our platform allows you to find that sweet spot where you want to work, that operating point. And if you had to do this manually, if you started creating a circuit and then said, oh, it's too long. Oh, now I have 3 more qubits or 10 more qubits. What can I do? You're going to have to do it again and again and again. And with us, you can really do it within seconds. We deliver this in 2 ways. One is an interactive environment. This is a screen capture from basically a VS Code, a Visual Studio Code extension, where on the left side, you see the functional model. On the middle, you see the circuit that we're generating. And on the right side, you see, in this case, CASM code. This could be Q# or Cirq or anything else. Or we deliver it just as a Python SDK, and again, generating the circuits at will. Why is that useful? Because by focusing on the what is it that you want to achieve, as opposed to how, we solve these 3 problems that I mentioned. 1, we allow you to create sophisticated circuits for larger and larger computers. Because today, we're all playing with toy quantum computers, right? The test is basically anything you can run on a quantum computer today, you can run on a simulator. But that's not going to be true next year or the year after. So we focus on the what, not the how. We generate the circuit for you. We allow you to port it from one machine to the other. We allow you to be a chemistry expert without being a quantum PhD. And we believe, and we can show you this, I can show you this afternoon, we can create circuits today that we truly believe cannot be created otherwise, that are too sophisticated, that are too complex for any reasonable person to create by hand. We turn months of work into minutes. What does that mean today? That means today that if you have an exploratory team in an enterprise and you're looking at various proof of concepts, you can run through many of them in a year. You can run through 6 or 7 or 8 instead of 1 or 2. You could find the one that's valuable to you, and so on. We help you with resource estimation. We worked with a Wall Street firm to look at option pricing, and they said, well, here is our super complex function that we want to generate. And we said, look, here's a circuit that does that, but that circuit needs 300 qubits. Well, you don't have 300 qubits today. So either you wait 2 years, or you relax the requirements and let us show you what you can do with 30 qubits or with 40 qubits today. Write once, run anywhere. So that's the portability. Run on any hardware that you want, and allow to bring in these domain-specific experts that don't have to be quantum PhDs. We've got a bunch of customers today. top 5 global telecom, a major defense contractor, a global management consulting organizations. We're rolling out, increasing the pool of users with every week, already connected and collaborating with Microsoft, with Amazon, with IBM. Company is based in Tel Aviv, and we are one of the leaders of the National Israeli Quantum Computing Initiative. We're basically providing the software infrastructure for it. As far as business model, we are a SaaS company. Just like CAD software, we sell annual per seat software licenses, already have revenue, expect to scale it significantly next year and the year after. A team of about 30 people. We joke, or half a joke, that even the chief marketing officer has a master's in physics. So I'm probably the least qualified one. Most others have PhDs. All coming from top-tier universities, top-tier experiences. And I'm available today and tomorrow, happy to demonstrate, happy to talk to you and explain about the quantum revolution. And thank you very much for your attention.
Hello, my name is Kevin Callaghan. I'm one of the founders and the CEO since January of this year of QuantFi, a French startup engaged in quantum computing algorithms in the area of finance. I'm waiting for the slides to start. My background, I'm not a scientist, to be clear. I'm a former banker, a survivor of the financial crisis, who learned perhaps the hard way that the finance industry did not have the right tools in order to understand the markets that they were investing in and the risks that they were taking. So I ran off to business school before Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. And in the, I guess, 13 years since then, there's still a great need for tools that can solve problems. And so the hope of quantum science is that it will provide far better tools that current supercomputers are just not capable of handling. Okay. So quickly, and I'll try to go through things in less than 10 minutes. What problems are we trying to solve? Well, we know that financial institutions want better tools. We know, or think we know, that quantum computing can potentially solve some of these financial problems. But we also know that the quantum computing industry is in its infancy. And that has to be, I can't stress that enough. There's so much more research in both hardware and software that we're years away from any viable, really, products. Although we do have products. So we know the hardware isn't quite ready. We also know that there's a need for more quantum researchers. PhD programs cannot produce enough graduates. There's so many fields of study in quantum. Anyone who's looked at the human resources, the search for talent in quantum knows how much demand there is now, and it's just going to get worse. I know from personal experience and from our work with financial institutions globally that there's a knowledge gap. So there is a need for training, and we provide that training along with our products. The quantum journey, as I'm suggesting, is a very long one. It could be 8 to 10 years before there are viable products. We'll see. I hope it's sooner. But there are no guarantees that there's going to be quantum advantage in quantum finance for quite a number of years. And I think the Quantum Startup Foundry is one organization that understands the need for much more collaboration and coordination in the industry, and we are a firm believer in that. So what does my company, QuantFi, offer to solve these problems? Well, as you might suspect, we research the use of quantum computers to solve financial problems. We develop algorithms, we test algorithms, we work with clients to investigate their use cases and determine what is the best way to solve their problems. And the problems can hopefully be solved by the exponential speed up of quantum machines and the higher accuracy of those machines. In areas such as portfolio optimization, derivative pricing, areas that we consider to be the low-hanging fruit of quantum finance. We look to reduce overall volatility in markets by our algorithms, detection of market crashes, which, as I said, in the financial crisis of 2008, would have been helpful to have better tools to prevent the huge loss in market value that took us basically 10 years to recover from. We provide training, as I mentioned. That's one solution on the learning curve. We provide not just pure quantum solutions and research in pure quantum algorithms, but we also create short-term products, classical products that we feel are cutting edge, and what is known as quantum-inspired products, which is kind of a blend of quantum and classical. We provide access to a number of different hardware platforms, which I think is ultimately important to find the right blend of hardware and software. We work closely with universities to create synergies. I think that's very critical. It's one of the reasons why I'm here, is to find out what University of Maryland and other universities that work in the Mid-Atlantic Quantum Alliance are doing or are interested in doing in quantum finance research. We also are part of we consider ourselves part of the global quantum ecosystem, which again, in terms of cooperation and collaboration, I think is important. We're based in France, but we have a presence in Japan, and we have hopefully a presence in the US, here in College Park, perhaps. Quickly, we have products. Most of them are provided for testing. We also have tutorials that are provided for companies to look at and test. We promote other people's products as well, because we're looking for all solutions, not just necessarily our proprietary ones. And I think that's an important differentiating factor between us and some of our competitors. We started a training products. Most of these are designed, most of our training is designed to help our clients understand our software products, but also introduce them to the field of quantum science, which is a challenge for banks who have experts in quantitative finance, computer scientists, but don't have physicists and don't have mathematicians that are not really knowledgeable. So we help them along this quantum journey by designing a program that will hopefully keep us working very closely with these clients for a number of years. What is the market opportunity for quantum? Well, it's certainly in the billions of dollars over the short term. In the pre-NISC era, which I think is pretty impressive, and long term, who knows? Is Worley still here? I was curious what he thinks of this claim by McKinsey that the quantum computing market could be $1 trillion industry by 2035. And I'd certainly be interested to know what our friends at Ernst & Young think of that claim. Nothing surprises me, but if that's part of the hype of quantum computing, I don't consider that to be a very good thing to exaggerate. Why quantum finance? Well, as I said, maybe the low-hanging fruit. It's a number of factors why the financial industry is interested in quantum science. One is that they have a long history of investing in IT. Two, they have the capital to invest. Three, they're very competitive, therefore seek competitive advantage. And fourth, if you look at some of the use cases that have been examined in finance, they don't actually, it's understood they don't actually require the highest level of computational power. So if you can provide, it's not like inventing a new drug or something. It's, if you can incrementally improve financial calculations that's good enough for a bank because they can still make millions and billions of dollars from those small differences. I don't want to talk too much about our competition because this isn't a pitch per se, but we do have other companies doing this, similar things. But I don't consider it a collaborative. I consider it more of a collaborative market than a competitive market. For example, Blue Cat is a startup in Japan. Blue Cat is a competitor technically, but they're complementary to us, we've learned, and they're actually our partner in Japan. They're helping us penetrate that market and introducing us to universities and to some of the biggest securities firms and banks in the world. How are we different from our competition? Again, I don't want to spend too much time on this. As far as I know, we're the only quantum finance company founded by bankers. We're one of the very few focused only on finance. We help clients transition from classical to quantum. So we don't just offer them quantum solutions and say, okay, here, take this, run with it. We help them along this journey, quantum journey. We're realistic about our research and the products that we offer. We provide training products. Again, I think we're the only quantum finance company that offers training. And I think that's critically important in the industry. We operate now on 3 continents. I think that's somewhat unique. And that's purposeful strategy because if you're going to look for clients and more importantly, talent, you have to have a global mindset. No ecosystem, whether it's Mid-Atlantic or any other market, can survive without importing talent. And I see, there are a few foreign companies represented here today, and so I think that's the right direction. We offer our own products, but also other companies' products because we want to serve clients in the best way that we can. And we have very close contacts with academia. Here's our team, small group, but pretty diverse. In age and in nationality and also in the focus. So our research team is a mix of PhDs in physics, PhD students in mathematics and computer science, and I think that collaboration is also important moving forward. Some of our partners. You see many of these names we work with. We're an IBM Q partner. We have done a number of research with a couple of very large banks. We have a e-learning partner in the UK called Querica. And we have our university, a very strong university relationship in Strasbourg, which has a new quantum center. Yeah, we've done a good job, I think, of marketing ourselves. We've gotten our name out there. I'm running out of time. We also belong to a number of clubs, AWS partners, Toshiba technology partner designated by them, and a bunch of others. This is our capital plan. I'm going to spend so little time on this. We're bootstrapped. We're founded only by myself and non-dilutive financing from a variety of sources. But we'll look for funds now, going forward for the next few years, to keep our research operations going and to expand them. And then eventually, do a Series A anyway, this is our value proposition. We offer intellectual property. We have a very smart business strategy. We're scalable in part because we're global, and in part because we're investigating whole different lines of businesses like fund management using quantum science and mobile banking using quantum technology as well. We have flexible exit strategies, and that's it. And quickly, Alex Kahn is in the room too, and he's my partner here in the US, so please look for Alex or myself if you have any questions. How much time is that?
Hello, everybody. My name is Salari. I am CEO and founder of Quaxys. We've been developing next generation of hardware for superconducting quantum computers, and our main goal is to reduce the size and cost of quantum hardware, and at the same time improve the performance in terms of noise, power consumption, and other critical factors. In this short presentation, I'm going to show you one of our solutions called Quantiver 4840. Okay, first, I'm going to start by comparing the early days of conventional computing with the current situation in quantum computing, because it will give us a rough idea about the current challenges in quantum computing and what needs to be done in order to make it practical and affordable. We've all seen pictures from early days of conventional computing, where we have a large room full of vacuum tubes and one or more operators. We're moving around in order to toggle the switches and connect and disconnect cables. So the main problem with this technology were its size, cost, and power consumption. Since then, electronics has undergone significant breakthroughs. For example, the invention of transistor in 1947, which made all these technologies possible, such as cell phone. For example, our cell phone is 20,000 times cheaper, 40 million times smaller, and a few thousand times faster than ENIAC, which was the first computer built at Princeton University. With quantum computers, we are more or less at the same stage. So quantum computers are huge, they are super expensive, and they are power hungry. So what we see here on the right picture is a typical lab for superconducting or spin qubit. It consists of a huge fridge to protect the quantum processor, and we have a very large rack of equipment which is used to control and measure those qubits. The main challenge on the way of quantum computing is currently the scaling problem. It means that in order to be able to reach the true computational power of a quantum computer, we need to be able to control thousands and eventually millions of qubits. The scaling problem has different challenging aspects, but again, reducing the size, cost, and power consumption they play an important role in solving this problem. From the point of view of a researcher, it is super exciting to have a quantum computer because it will revolutionize our understanding from the universe. But you may ask, okay, is there any market for quantum computing? And does it have impact on society and businesses? The answer is yes. According to many forecasts, quantum computing will create a multi-billion-dollar market, disrupting different sectors in finance, defense and cybersecurity, transportation, biological and life sciences. So according to one of those forecasts, the market in 2021 is expected to reach $235 million, and by the end of the decade, it will reach $2,500 million. Therefore, it makes sense to invest time and capital in solving the scaling problem that I mentioned in the previous slide. So our solution to the scaling problem starts with reducing the size and cost of room temperature hardware, which is used to control and measure qubits. The current method or the current system which is used in research labs for controlling qubit systems is shown in red in both pictures here. The problem with this technology is, for example, it is very large. So it is 1 meter by half a meter. Therefore, it's not scalable. It also has very complicated microwave and DC cabling. Cables break very often, and you need someone with expertise in microwave engineering or electronics in order to set up such a system. Moreover, you need to buy these different components from different vendors, which have most of the times very long lead time. And you need a piece of software to control this machine. Our solution, Quantiver 4840, is shown in both pictures in blue. So in terms of size, it's at least 10 times smaller. And it is a highly integrated module which can be immediately used in experiments. and it has a better performance in terms of noise, losses, and power consumption. Moreover, we've already developed a dedicated software in order to control this, our hardware, and people can also customize our software if they want to, so they can write their own codes in the software in order to define the different measurement and control scenarios. So we already built Quantiver 4840, and we tested it with the different research institutes. Again, it's a highly integrated module, which is in the interface between the fridge, the quantum processor, and the software. The Quantiver 4840 Plus, which is shown on the left-hand side, sorry, on the right-hand side, is even more integrated than its predecessor, and it's also has more functionalities. We have also solutions for smaller scale problems. For example, here you see a Quaxys controller, which can be used together with component series products on the right-hand side, and this will add significant flexibility to quantum experiments. So currently we are in commercialization phase. We already built our prototype. We already built our product. We're testing this with early adopters. We are actively looking for customers. Our potential customers are research institutes, industry, and government labs. We already got accepted to NSF National ICO program, where we will be working closely with potential customers in order to understand their needs. And we are also part of QSF pre-TraQtion and TraQtion program, where, for example, we got exceptional training for writing SBIR proposals at pre-TraQtion program. And we are planning to raise money in the second quarter of 2022. So our team consists of experimental quantum physicists, a microwave engineer, an embedded hardware engineer. We have a software team, and we have a product designer. So here you see some of our team members. We're also working closely with Quantum Startup Foundry, where we got exceptional support from them. And for example, this made it possible to get accepted to NSF National ICO program. Thanks for your attention.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm so thrilled to be here after a very long time and give a talk in person. I'm Mehdi Namazi. I'm the co-founder and the chief science officer at Qunnect, and I'm otherwise what's known as the last thing standing between you and your lunch. So I'll try to make this very fast. At Qunnect, our main mission is to develop the hardware and software necessary for upgrading the infrastructures, the communication infrastructures, to make it a more quantum-friendly system in order to have long-distance quantum networks, both for applications such as secure communications, but also eventually connecting quantum computers, quantum sensors, and the whole quantum infrastructures together. So for the next 10 minutes or so, no more quantum computing for you guys. You're all welcome. So the race for quantum communication is getting very serious nowadays. Not only different governments from US all the way to China are investing significant amount of funding into these infrastructures, but also companies like Cisco, Toshiba, I don't know, BT, all of them are coming into this game, and so many amazing research have been published and have been doing in the past, like 1 year alone, to move this industry and this whole field forward. When it gets to the challenges of doing quantum communications, of developing devices, quantum devices that needs to go out there and perform in real environment, believe me, the list is not short, but I can just summarize it in few key challenges. One of them is what I just said. You need to develop quantum devices They operate at the quantum level, but you want them to go out there everywhere in all the fiber hubs, eventually around the globe, and they work there for 5, 10 years or so. So no cryogenic or things like that. You need to be able to develop these technologies at room temperature, and you need them to be scalable. Fit in a fiber rack, if it's, for example, going to the fiber hubs, be cheap, affordable, and they can talk to each other and communicate over long distances. But it's not just the hardware you have to build, it's all about the quantum hardware, but the protocol itself is also very, very important. We are very early stage, and although the telecom infrastructure is made for optical communications, the fiber optics, the satellite networks, they're not really made for doing everything at a single photon level, doing in the quantum level. So we need to come up with the protocols, hardwares, and the softwares that can protect these qubits, the entanglements, your quantum computing qubits or any other qubits, and to make sure that can safely travel over long distances into these fibers, which has turned this field into a very challenging field. One of the most commonly heard applications of quantum communications is the secure key distributions, is the protocols that you can use quantum physics in order to very, very securely communicate secret keys and be pretty sure that it's not being hacked or eavesdropped by anyone. And it always suffers from a key challenge and key limits, and that's always the distance. No matter what you're using, especially if you're using optical fibers, you always have loss, and it's extremely hard in quantum to amplify the quantum informations. You cannot measure and just simply repeat them the same way that we do with classical repeaters everywhere. So the plot that you're seeing here is just one of the ones that Toshiba has published, that there is always an upper bound to what is the rate you can achieve if you directly send your quantum signals into optical fibers. And believe me, that's not what you want to do in long distances. After 100, 200, 300 kilometers, things get very, very messy. A good solution around this is the concept of quantum repeaters, to use entanglement in order to extend this distance further. So you need a series of devices such as entanglement sources, quantum memory buffers, measuring stations, all coming together in order to allow you to distribute entangled photons over long distances. And if you have this entanglement established over long distances, entanglement is this magical thing in the universe that allows you to connect quantum computers, quantum sensors to each other, because this entanglement is a connection. What we are doing at Qunnect is exactly this. We're developing these hardwares, we're developing these quantum memories, we're developing these entanglement sources, all of them operating at room temperatures. All of them are designed the standard rack mount systems to be able to use and eventually be a plug-and-play system to integrate into the telecom infrastructures, by which I mean like the fiber hubs places around the world. And you can just upgrade the current infrastructure into like a hybrid digital quantum system. So at the core of everything we do, room temperature and scalability is the key for us. And we have been making good progress considering how young our company is. We just recently had our very first sales of our first quantum memory unit. I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure for sure, but it should be the very first time ever a quantum memory is being commercialized. We successfully installed it at Brookhaven National Labs, and now we are working on the other purchase orders we have for these products. And we are committed to have all of our products, which are now 6 key different hardwares that we are developing, to all fit in a very standard 2U rack system design. So a little bit more about what we're doing and the long-term vision and the goal we have. This quantum repeater concept that you're hearing is usually a combination of several quantum devices distributed across different fiber hubs and distances from each other. So imagine these 3 blue boxes you're seeing here. Each of them is a fiber hub out there connected, let's say, a few tens of kilometers apart from each other or so. So in each of them, you should go put a bunch of these quantum devices. And the way it works is that the 2 outer nodes that you're seeing here, there are the quantum sources there, the entanglement sources. These are the ones that are generating pairs of entangled photons. One of them goes to these quantum memory units I just talked about, and one of these photons is being preserved, while the other one travels through the fibers, goes to the middling station, where we use this concept of swapping entanglement. Swapping entanglement is just allows us to get rid of the 2 entangled photons that we send in the middle with the price of entangling the 2 further photons out there. So we can keep using this process of swapping in order to increase the distance, and this is a daisy chainable process. So I can keep increasing the distance in which I can establish entanglement. And not only we're building this hardware, the quantum hardware, we're also building the optoelectronic hardware that would allow you to integrate these devices into the current infrastructure. We don't want to go out there tell people that, hey, throw away everything you got and reinstall all the infrastructure for long-distance communications. We want to be able to go just add some devices to fiber hubs and be done with it. So we're building the devices that protects your photons while they're traveling in the fibers, devices that do the very, very precise time synchronizations that you need across these networks, and everything that controls your quantum devices, such as the lasers, and comes with them. So now here's a slice of like exponentially increasing money bars. I know we all love these slides, so let's forget about the projections. That's not what matters here the most. What matters is that beginning 4 tiny little bars at the beginning is the part that excites me the most, because that's where the opportunity lives. We're talking about a very, very early stage technology that wants to create an industry. So it allows you and allows all the companies who are working in these fields to be the pioneers and be the ones who are coming up with the protocols, with the standards, and just create this. That's what we want to do. We want to build devices that eventually everything works around them. They become the standards that's commonly used everywhere globally. And similar to the digital internet, this is something that's going to take time. So don't go invest in a company that says they can deliver this to you in 6 months or so. It's going to take a while, but the progress has been good on it, not only on our side, but really globally. Everyone is really working hard. For us, like a lot of other companies, our early adopters are usually other researchers, national labs, places like ESNet, AFRL, Air Force Research Labs, some of the other defense contractors, things like that. But of course, the target we are aiming for is more companies like Cisco, AT&T, the telecom companies that can have widespread applications for these quantum systems for quantum communications. As I mentioned, this is our quantum memory. Oh yeah, I forget that there is nothing behind it. Yeah, that's our quantum memory, and that's the first one that we installed. It's actually a photo of it in the location. These are everything that if you saw it when I was doing my PhD, which was a huge optical table, this would look much more impressive. But now we have 2 other additional purchase orders for these devices, and several very serious different groups, including very established communication companies and quantum companies who wants to buy these devices so they can integrate it into their systems and develop their hardware and software around these quantum memories and quantum sources. And of course, for us, nothing matters more than showing the value of the IP that we're developing. We're very focused on the hardware, so we want more researchers, more scientists, more different agencies and R&Ds to use these devices to validate them and to help us make them better and better. The competition is growing very fast. This is just a very brief list of people. Honestly, quantum startups are coming out every day. I'm sure by the end of this event, there are like 3 new quantum communication companies added to this list. But we are still one of the companies who really care about developing all the hardware necessary rather than just focusing on one and hoping that other companies are also like developing the other ones that can work together, because that's really not realistic. And we are very committed to have these product suites ready, the prototypes of all of them by the end of this year, and eventually integrate them into for the field testings early on, starting next week. Speaking of which, so far we've been very fortunate both in the private funds and federal grants. Now we are aiming to open our Series A round soon at the end of this year, early next year, with the mission of doing these field testings to have an actual quantum networks in New York City that is capable of like having several nodes with more complex devices, so things beyond QKD for distributing entanglements, and to be able to expand our portfolio of the hardware and software we are developing. This is the core team. I'm one of the people there. Our CEO, Noel, will be here. She couldn't come today, so definitely find her and talk to her. And most of these, well, not most of these technologies, but everything started at Stony Brook University with Ed and my PhD advisor, where I did my PhD. This is our team. We are located here in Brooklyn Navy Yard. Everyone in our team right now is fully vaccinated, so if you happen to be in New York, you're more than welcome to come visit us. It's a very cool place, and the whole neighborhood is awesome. And thank you so much for your time. I'll be here the rest of the day if you guys have questions.
right, so you might have heard Mehdi mentioned optic tables. For those of you who are technical geeks, you know what that means. And I just wanted to share that we actually have a few of those available for our Quantum Startup Foundries in our physical space right across the parking lot from here. So we have 5,000 square feet right now that's available. It's both lab and office space for startups who decide to make their home here in College Park. And then next spring, we'll be moving into brand new space, 7,500 square feet. So if you're interested in learning more about that, we'd be happy to show you. There's not too much to look at right now, but we'd love for you to join us if that makes sense for your business. So now that you've heard from some of our companies, I want to take a minute to share some more exciting news. Today, we're thrilled to announce that the MITRE Corporation is joining the Quantum Startup Foundry as one of our founding members. So for those of you who are not familiar, so yes, thank you. So MITRE is a not-for-profit company that works in the public interest and operates 6 federally funded research and development centers in areas including aviation, defense, healthcare, homeland security, and cybersecurity. MITRE also has a long history of forging new partnerships with industry and academia and investing in innovative technology and research projects in the quantum field. MITRE participates in the Mid-Atlantic Quantum Alliance, as well as they're part of the Quantum Economic Development Consortium, and in support of building a future quantum workforce. For us, MITRE is providing a critical link to federal agencies in the public sector overall, a connection that's going to help our startups understand the government as a customer and partner for their quantum technologies. Having MITRE technical expertise on our team and providing our startups access to their quantum facilities will take us and our companies to the next level in propelling quantum forward. So I'd like to recognize Karen Vayani, who's the Deputy Director of Technology Transfer, which is part of the Office of Strategic Partnerships. Raise your hand, Karen. So she's been active on the QSF Advisory Board for over a year now, actually since the beginning, and a great supporter of our efforts. Also with us today is David Hopper with MITRE's Ingenuity program. So make sure you hit them up to learn more about their MITRE and their partnership. So now it's time for a break. And while we're gone, don't forget to join our Slack channel and sharing your key takeaways there or on social media using the hashtag QIS2021.